Hello ladies and gents, welcome to day number 8 of our third custom mail-in tournament. Let us meet who will start us off. We have T.O. Sawyer, Philippe Sabinus, Uncle Elvis, and Hawk Toi. Yeah, apparently we have a meme racing in this vehicle. Not sure how that's physically possible, but it is happening. And stranger still, it looks like they actually have the lead, and a decent-sized one at that. Going around the turns so far, no competition from anywhere else. They are an absolute bolt of lightning going down that lane, and they actually almost broke 14 seconds in the very first race. For the longest time, Dusty Miles had the speed record, and then both Rebel Racer and Flip Gambino broke that speed record in the last video. And I was wondering if it was going to be possible for someone to break 14 seconds, and now it's looking like an even more distinct possibility. A 14.03, that is about a full second faster than even Dusty Miles was able to do. So Hawk Toi managed to get a victory almost under 14 seconds. Meanwhile, everybody else, like Uncle Elvis, they're looking to at least stay in second. But I am just blown away by somebody being able to break the speed record by that much. And it looks like they might do it again, because they have been clean down this track so far. Not even really touching the walls all that much. And they almost did it again. They finished slightly slower at 14.07 this time. And it looks like we have yet another non-finish here. I love the custom design on that one, though. And look at that, they are getting dangerously close to breaking 14 seconds. I feel like they could do it. While Uncle Elvis and Philippe trade second and third place, and now they are tied for 5 points each. And here we go. Look at this. Hawk Toi just launches themselves out of the starting gate. And they just leave everyone else in the dust in mere moments. Meanwhile, Uncle Elvis and Philippe are likely in second and third respectively. We'll see how that translates as we get to the end. And Hawk Toi finishes in first yet again. But they still are much faster than anyone else has been so far, even Flip Gambino. And another non-finish in almost the same spot here. Yet people are surely on the edges of their seats trying to see if Hawk Toi can break 14 seconds in the same video they appear in. But yes, T.O. Sawyer has not been able to finish yet. And it seems like non-finishes have gotten a little bit more common as of recent. We'll see if they can at least finish once. Looks like they might have at least been able to get around that first curve, which so far they haven't really been able to do much of. But Hawk Toi has been an absolute missile. Going around the final bend. Oh, wait a minute, they went off the track. It looked like they had perfect execution, but going down that hill, something caused them to pop loose. And they will not be an undefeated racer. That is a shock to the community, to be certain. With someone who's that fast, you would not think they would be a non-finisher, but look at this. Going down the hill, they went from one side of the hill to the other, which caused them to go a little bit airborne and over the wall. But even then, Hawk Toi is still moving on, and it'll be Uncle Elvis joining them. Now let's see who will join them in the finals. Between Sneaky Bob, Wyo Willie G, Iron Poet, and Crazy Camel. Now I gotta admit, in terms of animals racing in these competitions, I've seen some of them. Like dogs are the most prominent. I don't think I've ever seen a camel. It has been proven that you can teach a llama to drive, but I haven't seen a camel be able to do that before. But for now, we have someone else entirely getting the first place finish, and they also broke 15 seconds. All of a sudden, that has been a lot more prominent in the last day of races or two. And we have yet another non-finisher. In fact, how did they wind up like this? They somehow wound up so that only their back end, I think, is on the track while their front end is suspended in the air, leaning up against a wall or something. We've definitely seen a lot of people wind up on their sides or upside down, but that is not a common way to stop on the track. So let's take a look at the points now. It was Crazy Camel who didn't finish, while Sneaky Bob, another person who has been known for sometimes their speed or sometimes just how well they race in general, gets the first win here. Can they do it again? It's looking very promising for them. They're not moving quite as fast as Hawk Twa was, although that could be a good thing, because we've shown already that if you move too fast, that can ultimately backfire on you. And they actually just barely broke 15 seconds that time around. But a win is a win, as they say. Meanwhile, the Camel managed to finish this time, albeit in 4th. But the fact that they finished at all, that is better than some of the racers we've seen over the course of this competition that did not even finish once. So they can be proud of themselves for that, if nothing else. But now, Sneaky Bob already has 2 wins under his belt, while Willie G is looking to stay in this competition alongside him, but he still has to deal with Iron Poet. They are actually not too far off from each other, but going around that bend, Sneaky Bob suddenly takes off. We've seen in previous competitions that Sneaky Bob can sometimes start off further behind and then pull off a win or at least surpass someone at the last second. But they don't have to worry about doing that here, as they get a 3rd consecutive win, and they are on their way to the finals. Meanwhile, our Camel friend almost finished in 3rd that time, but it looks like Iron Poet was able to get just enough speed to pass them before they got to the finish. And I think it has something to do with when they were going downhill, they clipped something, causing them to spin around and have a decent amount of loss in their momentum. But things are looking pretty good for Sneaky Bob right now, and quite possibly for Wild Willie G. As the 3rd race begins, Iron Poet is staying close to Wild Willie G, but we'll see how he does as they go further down the track, because he usually doesn't end up that close to them by the time they finish. As far as Sneaky Bob is concerned, however, he is about to get a sweep as long as he can stay on the track and stay quick, and he does. So we have a new sweeper in the group. The amount of sweepers we've had has been gradually growing, and Sneaky Bob has just joined them. Meanwhile, who finished in 2nd? Was it Wild Willie G? I believe it was. Yeah, but look how close Iron Poet was to them that time. But Wild Willie G will be moving on, while Iron Poet and the Camel, whose name is specifically Crazy Camel, have fallen short. But now for today's finals. Uncle Elvis and Wild Willie G with Sneaky Bob and Hawk Twa. I am almost entirely certain that Hawk Twa is not happy that they won't be an undefeated racer. But I am sure as well that they will want to get a sweep here, if nothing else, while also holding on to the fastest time we've seen in this tournament so far. going into the last straightaway towards the finish line. A pretty clean run, and they almost broke the speed record again. I believe they finished with a 14.03 at one point. So not quite the fastest time we've seen, but dangerously close. But all things considered, Sneaky Bob wasn't that far behind. Wild Willie G, however, was a bit further back, alongside Uncle Elvis. It looks like these stretched out vehicles are the way to go in some of these more recent tournaments. Or at least the ones that are flat and long. But look at this, barely bouncing off the walls at all seemingly. Staying on their wheels even over slight little bumps. And you can't even see anyone else. Hawktaw's moving so fast. A clean execution around the bend. And I thought that was a little bit faster, but apparently that was actually about 1/10 of a second slower. Granted, 1/10 of a second is not all that much, but sometimes in these races, even 2/100ths of a second can make all the difference. But even if they're not going to be undefeated, Hawktaw is just 2 races away from getting a sweep. And they do currently have the speed record. It doesn't look like anyone is going to be breaking it. Especially since they're the only person to have gotten even close to the 14-second mark. But here they go. Look how fast they gain speed even around the first turn or two. And they have just kept everyone far behind them. And that was actually one of their slower times so far, and that's really saying something. But Sneaky Bob looks to be staying in this competition, and it looked like Hawktaw actually went airborne for just a moment, and that could have made all the difference. Uncle Elvis and Wild Willie G are definitely in trouble, though. But so far, everyone has finished every time. Can they do that for one more race? Here we go, one race to go. There's just something about the way Hawktaw drives that once they get that good start, they just take off like a missile and leave everyone in the dust of their dust. I don't know if that entirely makes sense, but I'm sure it gets the point across. But look at that, they slingshotted themselves around that turn and they went airborne for just a moment. And the fact that they were able to finish slower and still be far ahead of everyone else. They actually almost went sideways there. But Hawktaw is someone to keep your eye on. Even if you are sick and tired of that meme by now, that is one dangerous racer. But it will be Sneaky Bob moving on alongside them. Now I believe we still have one more set of races to go because we have 9 days instead of 8. But we'll see what happens when we get to day number 9. Thank you all so much for watching.